When you find yourself alone, counting chaos on the phone, trading stories from the headlines.
I think everything around the news right now is very sensationalized.
News has become more like entertainment.
And I don't like having my day ruined by some terrible thing that's happening in the world.
This is the breaking news.
We set out to design a research process to see what do we know about the impact of constructive journalism. Our hope is to see what does this look like at a societal level? How does increased constructive reporting actually contribute to more constructive public debates?
We need to learn about how problems are being solved, issues resolved, for the sake of our souls. Not for ignorant bliss, but because we are better than this.
And I'm so proud to have Jodie Jackson, who was the woman behind this video. Jodie, welcome, and thank you for producing that video. What's the story behind it?
I did it because I realized, similar to yourself, that this is something that was bigger than just me.
It's front page fascination. Whoa.
And I think some of the diagnoses that we looked at, you know, the way newspaper readership has been declining, not just since the digital era, but long before that, I think that hit home. And in fact, on the day that Ulrich came to talk to us, he pulled up the sort of top of the app for the Times that day, and it was sobering to see how many of the stories were very sort of, left you slightly in despair.
Ruling parties who are in power seek to undermine and destroy the elements of the level playing field, and one of those, of course, is the media.
Top editors, as I was, are demanding that their investigative reporters carry their reporting beyond just pointing out problems.
We should put competitive differences aside and present empirical evidence to marketers to say, news is more effective.
But we are overwhelmed with the levels of trust and the response from the audience.
And the empathy is the first place where you actually open that room where both parties realizes that it's worth listening to each other.
Now, onto our activities around Facebook News. What we are doing is we are working with publishers in the US and now from January on in the UK to bring a new dedicated surface onto Facebook that is called Facebook News. And that is all about news from vetted sources, eligible publishers, newsrooms that actually exist, that adhere to journalistic standards.
And just to bring you into the table, Richard, this idea of paying publishers for some of the content, you're heading Google News. Are you following suit here?
Basically, we crowdsource the decisions of editors. We don't want the bias of any individual hands in that process.
There are two ways to lead change. You can either criticize bad behavior, or you can praise what you want more of. Now, for the third time, we're giving out the Future of Journalism Award. This little beauty here.
The Future of Journalism Award is quite an honor I share with all of my colleagues. On behalf of Nexstar, thank you for this and for your dedication to our industry and to the world.
We've been around the globe for so many inspiring and talks about the future of journalism. But for us here in Aarhus, Denmark, we actually don't have to go that far. Let's start with you, Esben. You have decided to become the most constructive newsroom in Denmark. Why?
When you start discussing it, you get another mindset, you get another tone in the newsroom when you discuss which stories to cover. It becomes better.
For her på TV2 Fyn satte vi os den ambition, at vi skal være Danmarks mest konstruktive mediehus.
Since 1773, the regional Danish newspaper Fyns Stiftstidende has looked more or less like this. But if you go to the pages about the community of Middelfart, something has changed. During the last 2 years, the reporters have changed the way they're doing their journalism into a more engaging and constructive way.
In 2016, TV2-nyhederne introduced 19 Inspiration, a new concept for constructive news.
Nu til et nyt fast element her i 19-nyhederne. Vi har besluttet os for, at vi hver dag vil bringe et indslag, der kan give os alle sammen inspiration.
We invited a greater part of all the journalists and all the editors to workshops where we discussed how the constructive journalism at TV2 should look in the future.
For me, it's very rewarding to work with constructive stories because I've been a news journalist for 12 years. And at some point you get fed up with the problems of society and you want to seek the solutions of society. And in this way, I contribute to that picture also for our viewers.
Now we're moving into the last session of this 24-hour journalism event. In this session, we're turning to how or what journalists can find from inspiration in other professions.
Not only about the breaking news and extra, but also about the idea that there are stories out there that can be really interesting if they are told in a good way.
The primary way to tell that story is through what we serve our guests 5 days a week, most weeks of the year. It's through our sense of service and hospitality, but it's also the storytelling that wraps around that as well.
In my opinion, so one institute alone is not enough. That is why we are looking at ways in which politicians, journalists, media organizations, and foundations can set up their own constructive institute to drive the process of change forward in Germany. And we'd love to work shoulder to shoulder with all you in this.